Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon from Sweden, and welcome to this month's live stream on the topic how to build your business case for TA Tech. Before I properly introduce today's guest, we'd love to see your energy in the comment section. Let us know where you're tuning in from and what your burning TA Tech questions are for us. Meanwhile, just a super short recap. My name is Sara. I'm a part of Adway, and we do automated social recruitment marketing, enabling a 24/7 storytelling on social media to attract your most desired candidates, fully automated while leaving the bias out. So in recruitment budget times like these, I figured there's nothing more timely than to invite the TA Tech gurus, unboxing the talent pools, empowering TA today. I give you Chris Haslam and Darren Bush. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hello.
Woo!
Great to have you.
That intro music. Wow.
Right. I get that a lot. It's produced in the Adway studio, which on nighttime is a DJ studio as well. You can join us after hours.
I messaged Chris in the chat and I was like, we need to up our game.
I was like,
oh yeah, setting the scene. But guys, can you just give us the background? Who are you and what are you making for changing better ways of working in the TA Tech space?
I'll start with you, Chris. You're in the middle of the screen.
We always do this. We fight. We always fight over who goes first. I'm Chris Haslam. I'm one of the co-founders at Move. We're an embedded talent business. And I'm also a co-host of TA Tech Unboxed. For those of you who don't know what TA Tech Unboxed is, it's a podcast where we're chatting to people that build tools for TA, where we are interviewing folks and learning about how their products impact our workflow. And Darren and I come from different ends of the industry, so we probe them a little bit. You guys have been on, right, Sara?
Yeah, love it. Love the show.
Yeah, so that's me.
That's Chris.
Cool. And so I'm Darren Bush. I head up TA for GF Go. It's a unit at Ericsson. I've been at Ericsson for 5 years. Actually, yesterday I had to be a post today. Which is actually the longest I've been at a company, so it speaks volumes. But so as Chris mentioned, I look at the enterprise side. I've been involved in building many business cases as well around getting TA at Ericsson, and so very excited to talk about it and to sort of relay some of all the information we have as well from our guests and from other TA leaders as well we speak to.
Exactly. You sit on a wealth of knowledge, which I think we should unbox together in today's show. And let me just remind everyone who watches this show, if you comment summary, you'll get your hands on all key takeaways, the full recording, and the recipe to build your strong business case. So make sure to bomb summary in the comment section, and that'll be sent to you. But just setting the scene, starting off, what we aim to cover today is simplifying the TA Tech jungle, which you guys are experts at this point. So Darren and Chris, just to jump into it, can you just give us a brief overview of the TA Tech landscape and why it's become quite complex? Because that's where I think people get lost, because there's new innovators popping up left and right, and it's hard to keep up.
Yeah. So let me start with about 3 or 4 years ago. There was you could break it down to sort of different areas. It was quite clear in terms of who are the best ATS providers, CRMs, assessment providers. But sort of fast forward, obviously the AI revolution, and we're seeing so many different new vendors coming up, new solutions as well coming up from the vendors. So there's the kind of a host of new tech, and there's an appetite as well. There's definitely an appetite from companies that are looking to it. So I'd say that there's definitely been an increase in terms of supply of companies out there, and it is like a jungle, right? It's a minefield trying to understand that, and that's why when Chris and I spoke about this, we're setting up the show, we wanted to create this marketplace where people could kind of go through it, because we sit in meetings with vendors pretty much every couple of days with vendors. And it's hard to understand all the different providers out there. So it's been it's something we both really enjoy. We both geek out about it from it and really enjoy it.
I love that. If you geek out of it, you're experts, because you're gonna get to the bottom. You're gonna ask the nerdy questions. That's what I like about the show as well with TA Tech Unboxed. What's your POV, Chris?
Yeah, I think like we both want to solve a problem I think that's always been, or it's specifically from my view, when I found Darren, who was talking about this problem, I was like, you're talking about things I've never heard of, because I work with earlier stage businesses that maybe don't have any stack at all. And we're introducing, new things to them. And then also the systems that we use to produce results for our customers. So I was looking at, the kind of SaaS, those SaaS models where you get early access, get in and test and figure out if we can get results. Whereas Darren, you look at a larger picture, right? And you were talking about things that I just never heard of or never had access to, because you need hundreds of thousands of pounds of investment and hundreds of recruiters. I think we make a running joke that Darren's got more recruiters at Ericsson than I've got employees, all my customers put together. Do you know what I mean? So in that, when you think about it like that, you can see the different challenges that come up, right? In that, and of course, I'm often trying to educate those that have never used any tech in this space how to use some. Mainly ATSs is the land for us, but we then also have to look at, okay, cool, how do we get from A to Z? The fastest route possible, and that's what really brought me in.
What we see, I don't know if you guys agree on this, but we see there's obviously a lot of emerging like niche systems. So the trend we're kind of seeing is for TA now to be more strategic is to become like to build your ecosystem of niche best in class system. Whereas before it was more like one ATS or one HRCRM system or whatever. But this,
LinkedIn.
The blue devil. But this time it's much more like you have to know what niche players are out there in order for you to build the best TA tech setup for you. And on that, I mean, one of the agenda parts is obviously jumping into some of the vendors TA teams are switching to, and some of the vendors and solutions where, teams are actually switching away from. Just starting in that area, what will you guys say? What do you see as of now? What is trending? What is happening?
I think more efficient ATSs has been number one, right, Darren? For us, like ATSs that actually are doing a bit more heavy lifting for the workflows. A bit more beautiful to use. With folks, I'm hearing a lot of folks talk more about the HM experience inside the system, not just their own experience. Data being a big part of that, and then of course AI. Interview intelligence also been a big deal over the last few years. Darren, anything else?
I'd say the new area on the block that probably wasn't been mentioned before was interview intelligence. That's definitely. It's still early. It's still. I think that's where the growth is going to be in that sector, because they're starting from zero. I think Harvey sort of left the way in terms of like one-way video interview and video, but they never. I remember speaking to them like several years ago, saying are they going to do what the interview intelligence tools are doing now? It wasn't their roadmap, but there's so many new players out there. They're going to change that, and I don't think the argument is going to go away from the one system that can do everything with maybe one or two bolt-ons to should we just get point solutions in here? Should we get a company that go mile wide, inch deep, or do we go a mile deep and then an inch wide? And I think that depends on your circumstances, your problems you have at the moment. And I'd say on the enterprise, you still have this whole discussion around Workday, SuccessFactors, Oracle. If people use those tools, like trying to work away of either optimizing it or trying to get away from it and circumvent those solutions as well.
Is there anything like particularly exciting that you see, like some cool new popping up vendors coming on your show? Anything that you've noticed is like this seems to actually change the game in a way?
There's been a lot of those, and there's a lot coming up actually. There's a lot coming up because we're just about to launch our season 2, which I think we're going to get into later. I think I've jumped the gun a bit there, but we're starting to just try and look at like what else are we not getting, because otherwise it could just be like 30 ATSs. It's going to be quite a boring channel. So we're trying to think about how does this vendor impact the workflow, and it not just be another tool that we think's good, right? Everyone knows that the big 5 names that are banding around the industry at the minute, and me and Darren back those as well, right? They're doing great things, but trying to look at some really interesting people that are venturing into new areas. Are we allowed to name names?
It's
Go
difficult
ahead.
one. Yeah, but people want names. That's the thing. It's difficult for us because we're trying to be.
You're gonna have to sign up.
Yeah, exactly. Sponsor the show. No, but we see this as well. Like the emerging thing is to actually hands off as soon as possible, build the tech stack that you need, making sure you end up with a funnel presenting the last 3 optimal candidates at the end of the process. Whereas like if you want to use a gut feeling, or if you want to use your hiring manager's opinion, go ahead, because the top 3 is going to be equally great, right? So it's about that thing, finding an attraction tool on social media, perhaps, where 5 billion candidates spend their time, then finding the assessment, the screening, the smart scorecards, everything that addresses the relevance of actually processing only the relevant hires in the chain, right? That is literally what we see.
And that kind of focus on like where is your problem? I think is the issue, right? Like I think a lot of the time I speak to folks and we try to understand like what they might find interesting, but like Google doesn't find it hard to attract people, so they might not be interested in those tools, but they find it really hard to get through the amount of people.
They might be drowning in irrelevancies, right? So they want to attract back-end developers or whatever. But very true, very true.
Or being more efficient and eliciting great questions at interview might be their challenge. Recalling how many people, like facilitating their recruiters to run really great interviews, might be their challenge. So I guess for us, we always try to look at like kind of where are folks' problems, like what are they using? That's when we're starting to ask questions for guests, right? Like how are you solving that problem? Like what are you doing? And is there a tool that fixes that issue?
On that, I guess you're in like a lot of conversations around like intelligence, obviously coming into TA Tech. What's your approach here? Would you obviously you know how to ask the questions first in order to actually let tech help you? Otherwise, you can't like put a tech solution to something you don't know the questions to. So obviously there needs to be a way of approaching how to build the case for it. So what's your take on the intelligence coming in here? Because there's obviously going to be a bus and they're going to be a line where it's relevance. How do you navigate?
Talking about the navigation around
like intelligence. How to know where intelligence is just a buzzword in TA Tech, or it's actually really helpful. So knowing where to ask the right questions in order to know how tech can enhance, the work labor for you. Yeah.
I mean, so in answering your question as well, but something I wanted to get across is when you are building a business case or you are looking at getting that information, I always think you got to research as much as possible. Meet with vendors before, but I noticed that people are a bit nervous about doing that. They feel like by reaching out to providers that they're signing up. That's it. We've got the budget. I think you've got to be clear up front and say, I'm just doing some research at the moment. I will plan to do it, but a lot of those providers can help you with the business case.
Exactly.
So you speak to them and say, like, I need to have a business case in order to do this. I need to understand what the pros and cons are. So I'd like to meet with you. And, it's amazing when if you just focus internally about this is what we need, this is the problem we're trying to solve, then go out to the market, you might see things that you hadn't thought of before, or new tools or new features to think, oh, we need to have that. That's really important. That's a problem I hadn't actually identified. So I would say absolutely. It's the stage one is gather intelligence, and then start building requirements from that and get that information, and then speak to and network as well. Speak to other TA professionals, and just with a pinch of salt, you'll hear people say, "Well, I didn't like that product, but it didn't work for me." Just don't always rely on that one person then being the voice of just saying that company can't work in your company. It could be exactly different circumstances, different reasons.
That's one thing we've got really good at. Sorry, that's one thing we've got really good at. It's like, we don't because we're often representing a customer, we choose our stack for us that we go to a client with. So for us, we're going to Darren's point there. Sorry, this side is now, I forgot we're mirroring. To make sure that you get in and test something to its ability, but also don't let it spiral into a 12-month.
That's the
you know what I mean, like, and then not use it really properly and adoption be poor. Like, we're a big believer here that get in and test and try and see what it does, see what its capability is, break it, And like you were saying, Darren, right, spend the time to get in and not only understand the problem, then once you've picked a solution to bring in, it's like actually try and make sure you use it and make it a baseline and keep working hard at like, okay, cool, like this bit's clunky, I'm going to reach out and try and figure out how what am I doing wrong here.
Nice.
And
you
but
might
then
even
cap
be
it.
able to like pilot in a way where it's like you can help design the actual tool, right? Totally. I love that approach when you're like, hey, how about
get in early.
when you actually get in early and help make understanding around that this pilot is going to help us build the business case. So the vendor is super eager to make sure that this lands well for everyone. Like it's such a different thing for presenting this to a hiring manager versus presenting this like to your team.
Totally.
Like, such an important piece to get every stakeholder buy-in into the case. Yeah,
totally with you.
What's your would you add anything on like how to approach building the case? Like you said, Darren, there's like, don't be afraid of demoing, don't be afraid of asking the vendor to help you put it up, but also how do you make sure you keep navigating what's actually going to move the needle for you? As you said, like it's easy to get stuck in like an inherited tech stack, an ATS, a CRM solution, whereas you have to stay agile and test and trial the stuff coming out on the market. Otherwise, your competitors will obviously challenge you.
Yeah, I think the thing you need to when you're building it, and you need to have a mind in terms of who, when you sell this back to the business, who's it going to be for? So you're gonna have to sell this to the recruiters, you're gonna sell this to the hiring managers, you're gonna to the people and anyone at SMEs as well. Yeah. So when you are speaking to vendors, have those kind of the audience in your mind. Is how can this help the hiring managers specifically? I think Chris, mentioned earlier that we've definitely seen a trend where hiring managers really weren't thought of for several years. I remember having, when we did this about 5 years ago, we would look to vendors, what's the hiring manager experience, and it was quite poor. Yeah. Now it's very much part of it. You've got to be ingrained in it, and you understand that if hiring manager is not in your platform, then you're doing something outside the system. So how can we make that? It does, and data is one of the biggest problems. Yeah. So you need to have those people in mind. And when I spoke to the vendors, it's kind of again, give me the numbers, give me some case studies, productivity.
Let's have a look.
Let's have a look. And then it's around like talent, for Adway, how many more people you're reaching, exactly. What do we audit? What do we, we don't reach this current audience right now. This is where we are now. So what is our landscape right now to what is the future landscape we're trying to deliver?
Do you see that trend happening, like tying back data to business growth and revenue? I mean, as an example, to be perceived as a revenue driving function within the organization, TA must be able to portray the impact on overall revenue and business growth. As you said, like for Adway benchmarks, we like it's super crucial to showcase how social recruitment marketing is, moving the needle for like the bottom line, where it's like, okay, so there's a 30% increase in relevant applications. We have like 84% increase in like applications overall, fill rate. What I like to discuss is also time to attract, which I guess is one of the trends happening in TA tech, whereas we can actually calculate the impact from TA, and not only when we hand over, the processes over to HR and like to the hiring managers, whereas time to hire can be a bit of a challenging KPI because it's so impacted by other departments or other stakeholders in the full chain. So I think, well, that's just my prediction, but I think one of the emerging things will be like, how do we, calculate back to the impact TA has, and what are the relevant KPIs, and then how the tech.
That's essential, right? That's essential. I mean, like, there's no case without understanding, first of all, how do we want to reach the goal?
Yeah.
And then working backwards from that goal, what's blocking, what are the core metrics that we're going to track to see this problem, and then also when we put the tool in place, is it solving those metrics that we see as an issue, right? That everyone's block is slightly different, than each other's. Like we talked to the top, right? Google and Ericsson and to startups, they all have slightly different problems, even though the pain might be branded the same.
Exactly.
So knowing first of all, like we talked about, right, that narrow focus on what is my problem, what are the metrics around that problem that I really want to solve, that even if they're micro things that are causing blockers, right? So for us, we really look at like where's time or cost, what is causing us to be slow, and what can be in in the right place, find the metric that we think, okay, cool. Even if it's a micro thing, you know, and a lot of it's recruiter hours and time in and time out. Can this be removed by bringing a tool in? That builds that business case. Then you can allocate a cost against it. And Darren, you've probably got a bit more experience than me than actually going, what's the cost of not doing something?
No, definitely. And I mean, I have to ask, obviously AI making an impact in the space. What I see, and I know if you guys see this as well, is we've always had the discussion human versus the machines, right? And that will continue, but we don't have to dwell on it. But what I mean by that is my standpoint here, my point of view is you cannot let your fear of tech or the knowledge you do not sit on block innovation, right? So we're blocking an entire industry if we don't jump on the trend, which is obviously smart. That doesn't even have to be intelligent. It's just like smarter tech, right? It could be automation, it could be machine learning. It doesn't even have to be AI. But the fact that you're scared or afraid of like utilizing the latest tools is blocking the entire industry, which I think is a major challenge.
And you.
Yeah.
No, but like someone else is using it, they're going to move faster than you. That's the end of the story.
Which is why we're like TA and HR is not, even keeping up with sales. Because that's just the way in sales, it's just like normal to approach tech as an opportunity, not something, who would replace the roles. What's the input you get from your guests on the show, the input you get from your everyday? Where's this, fear of smart technology, like blocking, I shouldn't be taking a demo even because I'm afraid of, it'll take my job, versus like, let's approach it with curiosity. Let's know what the questions to ask and let's, help it empower me.
Like it's not going to take your job. It might make the person that makes the decision to bring in a tool also gets gets lifted up by the fact that the tool is performing, right? And I'm sure there are things that can replace recruiter time in. I mean, we can believe or don't believe or have arguments for and against certain tools, but for me, I've always thought that like it's really important that not only do you know the landscape and you understand how it fits into the workflow and how it might impact you, that's then when you can then go, okay, cool, actually this is a thing that I can utilize that facilitates me to do the bit that computers can't do. There's only so many screening calls we can take in a day, guys. You know what I mean? Like physically, like because we can't, there's only so many like superhuman into, like we've all been there, right? It's like hard work to be friendly on every bloody phone call. But like, how do we make it easier for ourselves?
I got two things. I think I'd say where the AI is helping, you need to look at is the admin and the data diligence. So you now admin side, it can start filling information for you on your behalf, things that you hate doing, and that leads to data diligence. We're not very good as in recruiters updating information into systems, and it can do that for you. So think about that. Yourself. I think obviously I think you got the other one as well is I see with AI, because you got companies like Microsoft and Copilot coming in, and people will say, well, we could use this tool that can do part of some of the part of your recruitment. Just be careful about that. So rather than investing in new tech, they're going to use an existing tool that's going to kind of be upgraded with AI. So I've heard, like, for example, Copilot can help to help record interviews and to do transcripts, and then I got the transcription. Just the reason I say that is that it's like back in the old days when you brought an ATS and someone goes, yeah, but we still got Excel, so Excel does it tracks everything already, so I can do formulas in it. It's like, yeah, but this is a new tool. They're purposely built for the recruitment side. You're trying to take something else there and try to make it better. I think you need to look at the existing tools, the new tools coming out in the market that are focused in the recruitment around the AI side.
Yeah. What's also really chilling is, I mean, obviously data hygiene is going to be a big topic. I guess we're going to see in season 2 as well. It's not just storing the data, accessing the data, but actually how do you make sense of all the ATS data or all the assessment data or all the interview, again, utilizing that to actually inform, for instance, how you go to market and attract new talent on social media. Like connecting that chain, I think is going to be a huge thing. Do you see anyone else like focusing on actually putting context behind the data, not just getting a tool in, but actually learning to understand it? Is that a big focus?
maybe at the individual level, and I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to mute.
Go ahead.
My bad. Maybe at the individual level, like people are definitely taking, because of course often at the moment we don't have one true source, so we're having to grab things from interview intelligence and ATS and trying to work out, become like using
Sometimes
our where we have access to data analysts and stuff to like analyze stuff. I think like there doesn't, like certainly in each tool, they have a way of you basically, like if the tool is not providing you the ability to say, hey, this thing is good, you should keep it.
Okay, if the tool itself cannot, okay, I see your point.
Yeah, if it's making it hard for you to do that, it's probably not it's probably not a good tool.
That's a warning.
It should be telling you like, hey, you're smashing this, like look. The thing you bought in for, those metrics you really care about, you look, and that's why like we're seeing, you know, more and more ATS is really focused on that area, right? How that make us to make us more efficient, and all the stacks around it doing the same thing.
Definitely. On our end, I mean, the predictive piece is super important. We want to make sure we use the data to predict hiring outcomes, which is total game changer when it comes to recruitment marketing budgets and making sure your ad spend works harder for you. But I'm just jumping here, mindful of the time. Did you mention any like tools, vendors, or solution that TA teams typically are switching away from? Like, is there anything that's not just keeping up that you've seen, you know, interviewing to the show?
I think everything's so bloody new. Like, you know, like interview intelligence is, we've not had a SaaS interview intelligence tool until MetaView. We play MetaView bingo on the podcast because at one point it was getting brought up in every show, which is facilitating everybody to have a go at using interview intelligence for the first time. So, you know, that's for us been a big part. Darren, have you spotted anything?
The interview scheduling as well seems that's the, I'd say that's been another area of growth, because I put it down like when I top 4 things you should be looking at. Interview scheduling is one of those in one of those areas. It's because it's you need it. So every time you hire someone, you're gonna have to be scheduling interviews, and you can save that time and that wastage, and you can report on it as well. It's amazing results. The other one is attracting and finding the right candidate. We're seeing as well. So from yourself, I mean, obviously we had you on the show, and it was fantastic hearing from your insights. But actually, you know, how we don't do, and we speak about it within TA, we don't do enough advertising social media. We do job boards, and we do LinkedIn, and we don't reach them. We don't reach the candidates where they are at the moment, and we just expect them to everyone just goes to job boards, or the LinkedIn, and it's the same again. So there's been like there's been a potential shift there as well.
And on that shift, just Darren, because I love this topic, but I think one of the shifts, including in the shift, is companies and TA functions, HR, what have you, they're so used to having one pot of money or one budget going to one specific place. Whereas now, when innovation is going so fast, TA will struggle finding or adopting that budget to certain areas. Like I see this so specifically there. We have some great comments, by the way, in the comment section. But it's like, we're used to spending this budget on Indeed. We're super used to spending this budget on the job boards, where, you know, we were totally fine pouring money into these graduate events. But when it comes to trying and testing and demoing and, you know, keeping up with the innovation happening, I see TA teams having a hard time securing budget for it, or motivating, or actually then building the case. What's your input here? Like, how, because, you know, we need to be like, budgets need to be evolving in this agile phase. Otherwise there won't be any, you know, you can keep pouring money onto Indeed, but you'll see your talent pool shrink in relevance and hires.
And that's the point we're making earlier, right, about not focusing on the problem that you've got and trying to solve it. It's lazy of you. And if anyone's just doing that, we're getting lazy. Like, you need to go out and look at the market and think, okay, cool, here's my problem. How do I go out and find the metrics that really matter? What am I not getting from my spend on Indeed now? And how can I solve that and could get out and test it? And like, you've got to be able to make mistakes. And I think that as we mature as a function inside businesses, I think, and we start leaning on other teams and look at how, like, particularly like how sales teams do it with their tool stacks, and think about how
such a difference. I see just in our sales team, they trial and test on new tools like on a daily. They have like a 10%, not even like a 50, but 20% test budget, right? which should go to innovation. I think, like, to sum up the show, we're landing in, we need to have a test and trial % of the recruitment budget in order to even keep up.
And capacity. Capacity and budget. Yeah,
absolutely.
Capacity and budget.
Good point. But there needs to be a percentage of capacity and budget going into actually keeping up with the innovation of the industry, making sure you're in front center of what's happening, and giving your candidates the best candidate experience and all that. Like, I think in order to like even be in the race for your candidates, that should be on anyone's mind for 2025 budgets. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I think
do that. We land on a number, percentage, 10%, 15%.
10, 15, I think, of the budget should go into, and as you said, Chris, like, fail fast.
R&D.
Go fast. Like, have a, super short demo. Go in the pilot mode. Be like early adopters.
Like, it's free to demo. Totally free to demo. Often quite, particularly if you're clear up front, like with you guys. Like, you have, like, honestly, it's to anyone listening to this, these companies, they want to show you their tools. They want to make it fit for purpose. They want to help you build a business case. They want to test. Of course, you've got to have a healthy bias in there, that there is a sales process involved, and you want to make sure you're not wasting people's time. But really get in, think about the problem, ask questions, take a demo. Say, I need 3 months. I'm gonna keep tracking this issue. Like, honestly, I could ring you, Sara, right now and say, I've got this issue. I need to build a business case for this. Could you help me build the business case? You're not gonna say no.
No, obviously. You know what the best thing I've heard ever was from a company coming to us and ask for demo. They said, please, Sara, I want you to make me look good. Sign me up.
Easy.
That's our job. But okay, guys, time is ticking. How about we end this session with like your main takeaways? If anyone have listened to this show, if anyone goes after this, just want to approach their business case, want to take in this energy that we brought them and just go ahead for their 2025 budget, what's either of you's biggest takeaway? What should they take with them from this session?
I mean, I'm a break stuff and have a go and test things and make it part of your day kind of person, right? So for us, it's I'm very lucky that my role is to do that and only that, and to look for those solutions. But I can't encourage folks more to get in and test those environments. I know we're ending, but I've been doing something that's really exciting recently. I've been trying to productize some sourcing and try and think about how we can use the technology stack that we have to not make sourcing something we do as stop start, a little bit here, a little bit there, in out. How do we do it in phases where it's the total addressable pool is done? We now need to market at that pool. How do we market at that pool? To make it so things like that. Try and think about the problem, get stuck in, test stuff, taste stuff, take a demo, set some time out of your day. It won't slow you down. It only speeds you up.
I love that. Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I love that.
I think just follow on that as well. I think something that Luke Eaton always mentioned. Just a shout out to him as well. He spoke about give your recruiters maybe a budget, just say to them, go and find some tools. Here's $5,000, whatever, and you can go and start playing with them. And that way you can reach if other people are looking at different tools as well on your behalf. It means you can have a higher scale. You get good feedback. You get actual quantitative and relative feedback about the products itself. That's another way. And then when it comes to building a business case, it's about I'd say try to be as forward thinking as you can. What problem are we trying to solve? What are the issues? How can it impact and save the business as well? And back to your point about the revenue, how can you tie it to the sort of a revenue produced model? Where we're spending money on attracting our brand, versus potentially where we're spending money where it's not actually seeing any value onto our brand itself. Yes, we might be hiring quality candidates maybe through an agency, but the brand itself is not getting recognized because we're not actually showcasing who we are and what we do. It's going through another third party. So have a look at that. And then just try. It's perseverance as well when it comes to building business case. Just keep plugging away. Don't take no.
There's one piece of advice. I think there's one massive piece of advice I would add on to the end of that. It's a really good point, Darren. It's also try to focus on. It's not our world. the CEO is not going to care about time in stage. But like, how does time in stage affect the business goal? And how do we articulate time in stage, if that's your problem, or whatever that problem is? How do we articulate that back to drop in revenue, or access to better folks, or whatever it is that you're trying to solve? A pain that they feel that they want to solve. If you can do that, then business cases become significantly easier.
Yes. I love that. Have the Fingerspitzgefühl to get those nuances in. And I guess we'll keep watching this space. The innovation here is massive. TA Tech is just taking off. And I guess if anyone needs some empowering, some support, some energy, they can just reach out to any of you guys. Follow season 2. Are we teasing season 2? Have we? Are we?
We are teasing. We are teasing. Yeah, we are.
It's
season
coming.
2 will be out in November. It will be out in November,
Wow.
mid or end of November.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Guys, make sure to follow TA Tech Unboxed. Make sure to follow Chris and Darren. And if there's anyone watching the show who's super keen of getting this energy and empowered by the guys, just make sure to connect with them and comment summary in the comment section to get your hands on all key takeaways. It was so nice having you guys on. Thank you so much. Keep watching this space, and we'll keep chatting on LinkedIn as we always do.
Thank you.
Coolio. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.